We're here today with Elohor Thomas, co-founder and CEO of CodeLn. Thank you so much for making the time to meet with us, Elohor.
Thank you.
So let's just start with speaking about what exactly you do at CodeLn.
So we are in the HR tech industry or space. So that's HR technology. What we do as CodeLn is we help companies seamlessly hire software engineers because we have developed a cutting-edge solution that helps us test the skills of our software engineers. So before we recommend software engineers to company, we ensure they are vetted and they are verified and they have the required skills for the job. So having verified all of those processes, then we recommend candidates to companies, or we match candidates to companies for jobs. Yeah.
Cutting edge, I like that word. What does it mean?
Okay. So I think for us, that's the proprietary part of the platform, as much as it's a regular application that handles the whole processes. So for us, that's we automate the tech recruitment process. So ideally, the usual process is companies go online to post ads. I need perhaps a React engineer. There's a whole lot of process to the point where people apply. Then after receiving applications, they have to verify their skills, which means inviting them to come physically to the office, conducting tests and things like that. Then eventually they do the culture fit before they say, okay, this candidate is right for the job. So ideally that process takes around 2 to 3 months, depending on the size of the company. So what we do as CodeLn is to automate the entire process. So everything is online, right? And the very good part of it is that testing tool. So instead of inviting the candidates over to come physically to take the test, everything is automated. On our platform, the candidates take the test. On our platform, we do the analysis. We give the results so the recruiter can see the report of the candidate skills. So everything is on the platform, automated end to end.
You also do the culture fit?
So for now, we have not started that process directly. We have partners who we work with to verify culture. I wouldn't say culture fit, it's more like soft skills, because for me, I believe that it's only a company that can really verify their own culture fit, because culture is peculiar to each company. So they should handle that process. But for soft skills, yeah, we have partners we work with.
So what does the process look like from beginning to the end? By the time that a company says that, hey, I want to hire XYZ, and then identifies CodeLn and is like, okay, how can you assist us? What does that process look like?
Okay, so since we started to gather a pool of talent. So currently we have over 3,000 African software engineers on our platform, and they are from across 12 African countries, right? So it's pretty much a very diverse pool. So, but we have a lot of them in Nigeria, in Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Kenya. These 4 countries. So we work closely with companies in these 4 countries. So for us, what we did since we started is to verify the skills and to place the candidates on our platform. So we have already verified candidates on the CodeLn platform.
So they're already there and
yes,
ready to work.
Ready to work, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So ideally, the company comes to us. They fill a form. So I will probably understand their requirements. Once we receive that, we figure out, okay, we match that candidate to the company based on the tech requirements. And of course, we still have to do a bit of we have to ask the candidate, are you interested in this offer? So you realize there are times when the candidate might not be interested based on the salary range or maybe perhaps location and things like that. But once the candidate is good to go and has given us their yes, that they are cool to work with the company, so we forward the candidates to the company. So it's left for the company. If they want to do further scrutiny, they can, then they decide whether or not to pick the candidates.
Okay, the company says that I need this kind of person to come work for this in this role, and then you already have people ready to take on the jobs, and you sift for the company, and you're like, okay, this are like the top 5 people that
Correct.
we think would be perfect for this role.
Correct.
So you send those over to the company, and what does the company do at that point? Do they still come in and do an interview and so on?
Okay, yeah. So we realized that, well, especially in this, well, not necessarily in this part of the world, because we work with both local and international clients as well. So yes, 100%, they definitely want to meet the person they are hiring. So for some of them, it's more like just an interview to get to know the person. For other people, they might be like, okay, you've tested this guy, but I still want to conduct my own internal test, right? So yeah, we have different kind of clients like that. So there are some that want to still test them, And there are some that are like, okay, fine, let me just meet them. But there's always the process where they get to meet them. But in our own case, we are cutting down the time. So we are doing the first stage of screening for them. So the process of meeting them doesn't take as long as it used to. Then they can decide, okay, fine, I want to pick this guy or this lady or not. Yeah.
And how do you decide what makes a good software engineer or so on, and something that will cut across the boards of all these different companies that you're serving in these 4 different countries in Africa?
Okay, cool. So for us, we have a requirement form which they share with us. So we are coming up as the tech, we verify the tech skills. So we make it clear to our clients, we are mostly focused on the technical skills. So ideally, a company comes to us and says, I want, for example, a back-end engineer that understands Node.js. So these are specific skills, Node.js, that can work with Redux, that can work with perhaps maybe that's familiar with Git and all of these technical skills. So what our tool does, everything has been automated into the system. So based on the requirement of the client, so we test for the Node.js, we check out for the candidate's code for specific things or metrics that are peculiar. So for each programming language, they have their own standards, their best standards and their practices, right? So for example, but I'll say, let me speak generally so I don't go too technical, right? So we check for things like maintainability. So what that means is if at all this candidate has to leave the company to another company, how easy will it be for a new employee to maintain the code that this person has already built? So that's one of the key metrics we test for. We test for vulnerability. So for that, it means how easy will it be for hackers to hack into the application that this candidate has built, right? So these are just part of the few metrics we test. So these are general across all applications, be it web or mobile application. Then when it comes to core, the language themselves, like React, so React has its own best standards and practices. So how should the code be structured? What are the things that should be in this particular line of code or whatever? So we test specifically for the language and still generally across for web applications and mobile applications, yeah.
Does CodeLn ever meet the candidates personally, or you do all of this stuff online?
So for candidates that are outside these 4 countries, I think I met a couple of our candidates when I traveled to Uganda. So if I get the chance, or any member of the team gets the chance to travel, we try to meet with them on an informal note. But for other countries that we are not, so we are fully operational. We have offices in both Nigeria and Ghana. So yes, we have met our candidates in Nigeria and Ghana. And we realized the need for a personal interaction. So recently we started doing we organize events, hackathons and boot camps almost monthly, so that we get to meet the community and know them personally. So it's more like they are also part of the company. Then once in a while, for candidates that have internet issues, we invite them over to the office, in either of our offices in Lagos or in Accra, to to do their tests physically. So yes, we get to meet a couple of them, but not all of them.
How did you discover that this was a need
in the market? Okay.
Yeah.
So the team was formed from Metwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. So we started working on the idea in October 2017. So as part of our project in class. So the team came together because we had common interest. So there's me from Nigeria, there's Dexter from Ivory Coast, then there's Felicia and Dennis from Kenya. So it's a Pan-African team. So what's common to all of us is that we are all engineers, right? So I have worked as a tech recruiter. I've also worked as a software engineer. So I understand on our platform we have 2 users. Those who want to hire, which we call the recruiters, and the software engineers who want jobs. So in my own case, I can empathize with both users because I've been on both sides of the table, right? What's brought us together is the fact that we are software engineers. We understand the challenges finding a job around our field. And still, for me, being a tech recruiter before, I knew the challenges I went through to find a software engineer. So we didn't really start exactly as what CodeLn does now. There was a series of, I would say, ideation around our idea, right? So we realized that, of course, initially we were focused on the software engineers themselves, but we realized that the spending power was low, right? So currently on our platform, they don't have to pay. It's completely free for them. But the companies pay to get talent from us, right? So their challenge was finding and testing software engineers. It's a time-consuming process. So the time it involves to find a skilled software engineer, especially in our market. So that's why we automated the process to make it seamless for them. And still, I would say pretty much, to summarize, it's mostly because we have been in the field as software engineers, we understand the space, and we know what's required for most of the engineering skills that are required in this market and also outside, because it's more general, software engineering is general across the world. Yeah, so our personal experiences, yes.
How would you say you set yourself apart from other
Competitors.
Exactly, because
Okay.
I can imagine that it's a saturated industry, and also that there are like bigger giants like agents.
So I would say, for one, we are the first doing this in Africa. When I say doing this, I mean specifically in relation to the tests, right? Most of our competitors that work around the tests are abroad in different countries, but not in Africa. So our approach is different from our competitors, and we have placed ourselves strategically on the value chain such that we can even partner with our competitors. So we see our competitors more like clients. So this is the particular part of the value chain which we are handling. We currently, a typical example is we partner with recruitment companies, general recruitment companies. So companies that recruit for both software engineers, for accountants and other roles. So they take us as their tech partners. So we help them with tech hires, right? So that's where they see value in us. They don't have a tool that can test the skills of the software engineer, so they invite us over. So ideally they would see us as a competitor, but because we have a core value that we are offering to them, so it makes us valuable to each other, right? So I would say, yeah, our proprietary software makes us different, and especially because we are focused in this market, most of the tools that do the testing are abroad. So we understand the languages that are common in this market, and our tool is specifically centered around the African market, helping them hire seamlessly in Africa as well, yes.
Elohor, did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say yes, but certain things pushed me into it. So I would say I've worked as an employee before, and honestly speaking, I don't know if it's just me, but I didn't have a very interesting experience. So while I realized I was working for my employers at different, I think I've worked in about 5 companies before I became a full-time entrepreneur. I kept seeing things that I would want differently if I was working in that, if I was the owner of that company. So I'm like, no. Like, for example, I wouldn't want my staff to wait so long to get their salary. I would want more like I really like the Google culture. I want to, even though I'm the boss, I want to relate with my staff, even if it's a cleaner on a very basic level, like we can talk together and things like that. So while I was working, I noticed this is, I was like, no. If I'm starting a company, I have to be different. My own approach has to be different. So still, I realized that I'm this person that I want to be independent still. I really don't like when, like I see, wherever I'm working, I take it a bit more personal. So if I see areas that can be improved and I present it to my boss and he turns it down, I'm like, oh God, why is this guy not seeing this thing, right? So I realized that, okay, fine, I would probably want to own my own business and run things independently. So as much as I'm working with co-founders, but it's understandable because like I have to discuss everything with them before I push it forward, even though I'm the leader of the team, right? So for me, this is something I enjoy doing. And I've been into entrepreneurship since, I would say, 2014. Did I think that I was going to be an entrepreneur? No. But when I graduated from the university, I was discussing with a friend, and he was like, so, hello, what would you like to do next? I was like, honestly speaking, I wish I can have the job where I can just be at home and be working on my computer and be making some cool money. And the guy just laughed at me. He was like, my friend, go and find a job. I was like, okay. So I would say that is kind of life I'm having now. So I have the convenience when to work. I'm not really a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of person. I don't like that strident work practices. So right now as an entrepreneur, I have my free time. I know what has to be done. There are times when I work till 3 a.m. I'm not kidding. In a week, I can work 3 a.m. like 3 times or 4 times a week, right? Because I know it's my own business, and I know that I'm gonna get reward for what I'm doing. And apart from that, it's not tiring for me because it's something I enjoy doing. My passion is already in it, things like that. So yeah.
What would you say is like the biggest difference in your lifestyle or in your professional life coming from 9 to 5 and now moving into entrepreneurship? Or maybe like things that you didn't anticipate because while you were working, you were like, this is XYZ things that I don't like. And if I were an entrepreneur, I would definitely do it differently. Now, coming from that mindset and moving into entrepreneurship, what are some of the things that you have experienced that you didn't anticipate, or things that people are not, that's not openly talked about?
So for one, I would say the fact that you can be broke sometimes. So if you're working for someone, you don't really get to be bothered about if the money is going to come or not. You know that at the end of the month, your money is definitely going to come. Even if you are owed for a certain period of time, you still be paid. But in this case, I'm the one paying. So when I know that there might be challenges paying in the next, because we have staffs as well, in the next 2 months, I have to see it like 3 months earlier. So there's a lot of forecasting, there's a lot of pre-planning in this field, being an entrepreneur, which is, I knew it was going to be there, but I mean, and I would say right now, since being an entrepreneur and owning my own business, things affect me directly, right? So when I lose a deal, I'm pained. I get to the point sometimes where I get to cry, like, I really thought this was going to pull through. So there are down times, there are happy moments. So part of the culture of CodeLn is we try to celebrate little wins, no matter how little it is, because we believe that baby steps will get us to where we want to get. So I would say at this point, things affect me. It's more personal at this point, being an entrepreneur. So when I lose a deal, it's really painful. When I get to maybe get a good deal or do something really great, I take it personal, like it's more like my own success or the success of the team, all of us together. Then I didn't anticipate that there were going to be a couple of broke times, which is what you get to face as an entrepreneur. And you realize that you have to make sacrifices, especially in relation to your clients and sometimes your co-founders. So I would say decision making generally is different from this entrepreneurship point of view, because at this point, I would say I'm not selfish. I don't get to be selfish, right? I get to think about every other person. I get to think about my staff, my co-founders. I get to think about the vision and the mission of the company itself. So it's more like me taking myself out of the picture, and I get to get maybe the value at the end or something. So I think of myself last. Unlike before, where I just go to work, I collect my money, and I spend anyhow, or not necessarily. But now I have to think about even the little 10 naira I'm spending, right? Okay, for the business and even for myself, right? So where is this going to lead us to? Is this worth spending, right? So those little things that I used to ignore and like not really regard, now I have to think about them, right? So when it comes to spending, when it comes to people management, when it comes to the company itself and the co-founders and every other thing. So it's different now. So I'm more responsible now. Yeah.
How was the reaction of your family and your friends when you decided that you wanted to
go into entrepreneurship? So the funny thing is, when I decided I was going to go into to do my own thing, I was working at the time, but I was doing something part-time. I was doing a business part-time. At the time, Jumia really came to Nigeria. So what we're doing, they had this program where they helped entrepreneurs sell products. So it's more like you own your own store in Jumia, but they support you and things like that. So then I was working and I was doing that on the side. But every month I would always look. There are certain times when I'll make much more money from that than how much my employer was paying me. So I was like, are you sure that what came to my mind was, if I decide to focus on this thing that's paying me much more money, perhaps I'll get a lot more, because we're earning money based on commission. So I was like, okay. So I took a bold step. Then I quit my job. So of course, it was not funny. It was not funny at all. So I informed them that I will quit my job, and I gave them my reasons. Like, okay, are you sure you really want to do this? I'm like, yes, I really want to do this, because like I've weighed my options. I have stats. Like for the past 3 months, this is how much I've made from my side also, like I'll put it, and this is how much my employer is paying me. So it means that since I'm earning money based on commission, if I decide to focus on the side also, I'll make much more than this. So they're like, okay, it's fine. So I went into that. Then, well, for that, I would say it didn't really go so smoothly, because there were a lot of rules around the Jumia platform and things like that. So it was not my own direct business, although I was working more like an entrepreneur. So after a while, I had to quit, and I went back into employment. So it's like, okay, we told you so. Right? But when I went back, it was still the same cycle again. I'm like, okay, these are the things I did not enjoy, and I really I don't want to continue this way. So at that point, I quit my job to join the Metwater Entrepreneurship School of Technology, because I'm a techie. I have an engineering background, and I would say I'm a born entrepreneur. So that zeal to be an entrepreneur was in me. So I'm like, okay, MES is the perfect platform for me because it marries both the tech and the business side. So they train people to become tech entrepreneurs. So I'm like, okay, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to Ghana for 1 year for this. And my dad did not find that funny. He was like, what? How can you just be going to Ghana? How can you be going to another country? You have a good pay, and they were paying me so much more, right? So it was like, this 1 year had to be worth it. So that when I look back, it's like, okay, I know how much I would have made if I was working with this, my employer, in 1 year. When I look back, the value has to be higher than what I would have collected. So yeah, my dad did not find it funny. So it was a whole lot of discussions and quarrels and stuff like that. But eventually, he let me go. So I went to Ghana and started and did my own thing. But I think the good thing for me, was that my company was funded. Because I understand it's not easy to bootstrap. I've been there before. It's not really very easy. So that made things a bit easier for me. So, when you have to run around to meet clients and things like that, you have cash to run around with. So that was the good part. So I'll say, right now they're embracing it. So I have 2 wonderful sisters. One is a lawyer, another is an accountant. So when I started my entrepreneurship journey, it was very interesting for me because early in the morning, because this is Lagos, sometimes you have to leave here at 5 a.m. So in order to beat traffic and to get to work early. So early in the morning when they are preparing to go to work, I'm still sleeping, right? And when they leave for work and they're looking there, it's always like, okay, they call me Elo at home. Elo, bye-bye, see you later in the evening, things like that. So for me, I'm like, okay, I was really enjoying that the whole scenario. And sometimes they have to go through traffic and come back late, like say around maybe 10 p.m. I'm already home, relaxed and resting. So that is the part of entrepreneurship that I enjoy the most, like working within my own time. And I think at that point, they began to envy me because I was still making money and I get to work at my own time. But still, eventually they got to embrace it. And I mean, still they say entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I'm facing, there's a good side, or there are upsides, there are downsides, but I think I'm used to it now. I've been in it for, like I said, since 2014. So I think I know the acts now. I know how to handle certain things, so it's a bit easier for me now. Yeah.
So you touched a bit on funding. You mentioned that you were funded graciously. So what kind of funding did you need? Like, what are the expenses that you have for running this kind of business?
Okay, yeah. So of course the salary for the co-founders, because there's 4 of us, and of course the staff. But for operational cost, there's tech infrastructure, because our product is pretty much a tech product. So we have to pay for servers, we have to pay for certain things, which takes a couple of the costs, and there's still marketing. So as much as I would say officially the company is a year old, even though we started in 2017, late 2017. So we're still in the process of ideation. So we started officially after the MEX program. So we are about, I think in August, I would say we became a year old, right? So I wouldn't say we've gotten to the point where we are known for now. Although in Ghana, in the tech space, I think if I'm to measure, I would say 70% of tech entrepreneurs, techies, software engineers, they know about CodeLn because that's where we started. So we had to do a lot of marketing. We had to put in a lot of effort into marketing in the market because we're present there. In Nigeria, yes, we are getting there, maybe around 40 to 50% right now. So yeah, marketing is something that still takes a lot of money to put into it. So there's marketing, there's still acquiring customers, marketing. So we have both users. So for us, it's marketing for the software engineers because we see them as assets. We need them to be able to place the jobs. If we don't have them, we can't serve companies. There's marketing in terms of the clients. We need to get clients to see, okay, these are the services we render, right? So yeah, it's for now, especially because we are still young, we do a lot of marketing to boost the brand. Yeah.
Okay, I'm very curious because there seems to be a big need for software engineers, and there seem to be a lot of software engineers that are out and about. What would you say is the thing, which I guess would be what you were solving? Okay. What would you say is the barrier between these two things? Because ideally they should be able to match magically, right?
Easily. Yeah, so for one, there are software engineers in Africa. So I find it funny when some people say there are no software engineers in Africa. There are software engineers in Africa, and this market is really beginning to gain a lot of interest, especially from the market outside of Africa, from Europe and US in particular. So yeah, the talent is there. I would say the thing is most companies now are beginning to go digital. So it could be as little as maybe an SME that maybe a lady that used to sell clothes on Instagram, now she wants to have her own website and she's not a techie. So if you are not familiar with the tech space, you would not know where to find these people. It can be pretty hard for you. So in our own case, me and my co-founders, we've been in the tech space pretty much during our university level till now. So we are very familiar with the tech ecosystem in each of our various countries, which is Nigeria, of course Ghana because of the MESS program where we started, and Kenya and Ivory Coast. So being in that ecosystem, we understand, we know a lot of people in that ecosystem. We know where to find software engineers. We are part of the community, right? So for us, we know where to find the software engineers. And we understand the challenges with the software engineers. I think they just need they need more exposure to the market. So I'm this techie that I'm working in a certain place. I'm a full stack engineer, but nobody knows the services that I can offer. So our platform is granting them, is trying to expose the software engineers in Africa to companies to find them. So what we need to do from our own end is just to ensure that our platform goes as far as, well, of course, worldwide. So people can see, okay, that there are talents in Africa, and there's, of course, specifically to tech, because that's our focus. There are tech talents in Africa. These are their profiles. These are where the areas they've worked in. These are the skills we have verified them for, so that they can now pick from our pool. So I would say maybe the barrier is, so especially for non-techies, and maybe they don't know where to find, specifically, they don't know where to find these software engineers. And there's also the issue of finding a skill. It's not just finding a software engineer, it's finding a software engineer that can deliver on the job. So part of the problems we noted in the market is most of them have had a bad hire. And for tech, it's different because it's peculiar to the skills itself. You would not know that this guy you have employed is bad until after around 2 months, right? Once he has struggled to build a product and you're not seeing anything, the deliverables are still way behind. That's when you know that, oh, this guy can't do the job. And for you, that's productivity time lost. That's, of course, you are delaying on your client's product if you are building for clients. And also, if it's your own product, you've lost money for that 2 months. So we are trying to help them reduce their risk of a bad hire. Yeah, so I would say it's majorly around those issues, yeah, that's causing the disparity between both.
Okay, so you at that point you had funding, you understood the ecosystem, you
Correct.
understood the barriers, you have these amazing co-founders that you have met. What was your first step towards making it a reality?
The idea was not perfect from the on. Like, we're not set on what we're supposed to do. Like I mentioned earlier, we kicked off as, I'd say, a platform that wanted to help software engineers get mentors. But then we realized that the need was not so high. Of course, the market was not lucrative, and it was not really a prominent problem. So we had to sit down and ideate around what is a core problem in the market. Then we discovered that, okay, hiring, finding and testing software engineers through the entire process of tech hiring. And this is not a local problem, it's a global problem. So we're like, okay, being that we are in the market, how can we help the locals solve the problem? Then at that point you can say, okay, fine, let's take it international. How can we help global companies solve the problem? But it became a bit easy for us because tech is tech anywhere in the world. So if you need a Python engineer, the standard is the same in Nigeria, in US, in South Africa, it's still the same. So it cuts across all of these countries, right? So it became a bit easier for us to verify that process. So yeah, it was not exactly easy, but it was, I would say, what made us overcome the challenges that we encountered was the fact that we all had a common goal in mind, all of us as co-founders, and we knew what we wanted to achieve. So it was clear, and we are all skilled engineers. So it was a bit easy for us while we were starting. And we realized, okay, this is the problem in the market. This is how we can solve the problem based on, and also we are coming with experiences from each of our countries. Like, okay, in Ivory Coast it's done this way, in Kenya it's done this way, and I'm like, okay, in Nigeria this is the way it's done. Oh, we realize that for certain areas it's common, it's the same way, but for certain areas it's not different. So we approach each market differently. So we started in Ghana. The approach we used in Ghana, it's not the same approach we're using in Nigeria now. So it's a bit different. So I would say, yeah, that's part of it.
So you mentioned that you first of all were working on Jumia, and then that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then now you started to work on CodeLn. And I'm just curious, what have been the pros or the cons of working as a solo entrepreneur and working with co-founders and especially from different countries?
So do I take the pros and cons for solo and the pros and cons for, okay, yeah. So let me go for the solo. And being an entrepreneur, I was running my own business. So of course, I'm not a perfect person, right? There are certain times where I would make mistakes and I needed advice, and I didn't really see the need for mentors. When I was working as a solo founder, I didn't see the need to have someone that understands the space. And still remember, I'm an engineer, right? Yeah. I was just trying to run a business the way I could probably put 1 and 2 or put the mathematical statistics in my head, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to make money, right? So I didn't understand the little things, how to acquire customers, how to push your product to customers, how to interact with customers. Even something as little as communicating with customers, right? So that your customer, the retention of the customer is higher, right? Or they keep coming back to you for more, right? So I didn't understand those things. I just fresh from school. Although Jumia helped us at the time, they were having some regular sessions, I think maybe once a month. So that was it, because of course it's a big company, they really don't have your time. Like, you have to grow your business yourself, right? So I wouldn't say I didn't know the importance of having a mentor, and I didn't have one. I didn't have a mentor at that time. So yeah, so there were lots of challenges, and at the point where I decided that I had a staff working with me, so she was helping me do the runarounds and things like that. So at the point where I didn't really properly manage that business, other aspects so well, so we're getting broke, and I was like, okay, I don't want this person to work for me for free. So I told her, okay, you have 2 months. So I make forecasts a lot. So I knew that in 2 months' time, I won't be able to pay this particular person. So I told her, okay, you have 2 months to find a job. I can help you find a job. Funny enough, I found out the job she got when she left me, because I felt so responsible. Because I'd been in a workplace where I was not being paid regularly. So I was like, I didn't want this person to leave my company and still, it would look like I was the one that brought unemployment on her. So I helped her find a job, right? So she found a job before our 2 months expired. So it was interesting for me. So although I felt there were a couple of things I could do better. So I would say the advantage was that I get to make decisions without contacting anybody. I can just wake up one morning and be like, okay, let's go this way, let's go do this. So things we're moving faster, a bit faster for me. But still, I didn't have that person or people to seek advice from. I realized that, like I say, 2 heads are better than 1, right? So I didn't have someone to share the vision of the company with, because she was more like a staff. It's more like, tell me what to do, let me go and do it, right? So she was not so much interested, of which I understand her, right? Because I'd worked as an employee before. So not so much interested in where the business is driving to. Just tell me what to do, let me do it, then at the end of the month you pay me. So that was the mindset. So I'll say, yeah, that's the advantage and the disadvantage. But I think when I came to the MES program, so I learned a lot in the aspect of business and communication, which helped me. And also after the MES program in August, I was part of Empath's startup mentoring program. So that ran from August to February for me. It was a whole lot of learning process for me. I got a mentor paired with me. So with that, it became easy. So I could discuss with my company was at the early stages. So I could discuss with my mentor on little things. It was even a techie. So the tech aspects, customer acquisition. So there was always someone to guide and direct me at that point. So it became a bit easier for me. That was when I began to see the value in having a mentor, especially someone that has been through the startup ecosystem, that understands the space and things like that. So working with co-founders, I would say when I started, it was not easy, honestly, especially because we had different backgrounds. So we could quarrel for the very little things, like we had Kenya, we had Ivory Coast, and myself from Nigeria. So it could be little things that someone could say from another country that could be insulting to me, and they're like, oh, we say this regularly in my country, why are you offended by it? So yeah, team dynamics was, I think, for like the first 4 months we started, that was where we had issues. So it's like, okay, we had to really try to understand each other, like understand this person's company culture, why is person thinking this way, because still it relates to the way you think about things. So, and also, as much as we are all techies, we are all engineers, some of us are more engineers than the others. So when I'm talking about, okay, we have to make money, let's look into the business model of this thing. Someone else is talking about, okay, the products now. How can we push the product? What are the features for the product? I'm like, okay, wait, come. We can't be the product if you're not going to make money from it, right? So those that were more technical, we are thinking their thoughts was towards the product itself, towards features in the products. But for me, I think 2 of us are more on the business side, because one of my co-founders ran a startup before. So this was not completely new to him too. So we're like, okay, fine. If you are going to add, so we could relate the product parts to the business side. If you're going to add this feature to the product, do you think that customers are going to pay for this? You know, so we were more like the guides to the other guys that were more technical. So yeah, I'd say starting was not easy because of the team dynamics. Then I think right now I'm at the point where I really enjoy working with a team. I enjoy working with my co-founders because there are times when I want to make a decision, like as much as decision making can be a bit delayed. If it was just me, I could make decision fast, like as quick as possible. But still, that means that I could make mistakes as quick as possible. So I bring it to the table. There's 4 of us. That's more than 2 heads, right? So we bring it to the table. We all discuss. This person is seeing it from this aspect. So at the end of we can go like 2 hours in meetings, but at the end, we always come up with a solution. So that's the best part. Having different people think about the current issue and coming up with a solution. So the idea is, even though decision making might be delayed, but are we coming up with a decision that is going to scale, or a decision that is going to be the right decision for the company? So I think that's one. Having advice from mentors. So we are at the point that I think currently 2 of my co-founders have mentors. Me, I have a mentor. So it's like, okay, we're picking people's brain from different parts of the world, and we have so many mentors that are really, really very helpful to us. So I would say collaboration is still key. I think at this point we've overcome the team dynamics thing. We understand each other now, so we are cool. Yeah. So there's that. Then, yeah, and there are times when even as the leader, I'm really down and I'm dejected because maybe something did not go right or things like that. And I'm supposed to be like the person motivating them. So I could be so dejected that I come to a meeting and I'm talking to this guy, this was what happened and it's something bad. And someone's like, oh, don't worry, we'll get them next time. Like, okay, this person can be thinking about it this way. Even me that I'm supposed to like be the leader and push them and motivate them, if someone else is thinking about it this way, maybe I can also see it from his own point of view. So they encourage me in times when I'm down, and certain times when I'm really, really down, like, they are the ones that keep me going. I'm like, okay, I have 3 people that are looking up to me. I really want this thing to work out. I don't want them to feel like, okay, if I'm dejected, they too will be dejected. So to a large extent, my mood, I have to control my mood so I don't demotivate the team, right? So yeah, that's an aspect where I feel responsible. So if I'm to do this over and over again, I will not go solo. I would definitely want co-founders because I've realized, and since I've been running this company, I've realized the benefits are way higher than the disadvantage of having co-founders. Yes.
Wow. Elohor, given your experience and all your learnings from being a solo entrepreneur, leaving everything and going to another country to starting all over again, your startup mentoring from Nest and Impact, and now even being a co-founder and being in operation for like the past year, what would be your advice to young Africans who want to start their own businesses and who want to create and make an impact?
So I would say the first thing would be, don't go into it thinking that it's easy. It's not easy. It's not going to get easier, right? Don't expect it to get easier. So especially if you're running any kind of business, be it tech or non-tech, realize that your customer base will keep increasing. That's a good thing. Once your customer base is increasing, it means that more money is coming for you. But you should realize that once things are increasing, the problems are also increasing. So you begin to think from the tech side, okay, my database is increasing. How can I properly structure the products? Do I have to move into microservices so I can handle so much users? So from the business side, you're thinking, okay, initially I used to have 50 clients, now it's shifting to 500 clients. How can I properly ensure retention? How can I ensure conversion? How can I ensure that, am I really sure that my customers are happy? So there's a whole lot of them now. It's not as few as before where you can just maybe interact with them personally. So do you have to send surveys or things like that? So the problem it's not necessarily a problem. There's the good problem of it. Once you keep scaling, the problem keeps increasing. But it's all about like gathering your experience from running the business when it was young to the point where it's growing and knowing that, okay, these are ways to handle these certain things. So it's not easy being an entrepreneur. It's way not easy working for somebody. So people that don't have the strength or the zeal to carry on with entrepreneurship should really, really think about it before going into it. Then to the benefit, there's a whole lot of benefits which I've mentioned already. There's the freedom and the independence you get to enjoy. You get to, for me, I like making decisions and seeing my decisions being implemented. I like my opinions being considered. So if you are that kind of person, then definitely entrepreneurship is for you. You want to make things happen. You want to. It depends on the kind of business you want to see impact. You want to make an impact in your society. So if you are that kind of person, entrepreneurship is for you. If you are comfortable being broke sometimes, yeah, entrepreneurship is definitely for you. Then still, I mean, like people always, Mark Zuckerberg didn't start in one day, right? Look where he is now. He's a billionaire, right? So there are lots of benefits if you think about it. You're driving a business that is small right now. If this business grows to be a $1 billion business, for example, you can imagine how much you'll be getting from it, right? In terms of not just yourself personally, yourself, the company as a whole, and like we always say in Nigeria, you know that at least my next 2 generations will not suffer, right? So there's the financial benefits from it that you can get, but it means that you have to plan and structure your time well at this point. So I would say, if I'm to speak generally, entrepreneurship is interesting, it's fun. Ensure if you're going into it, ensure you are doing something you're passionate about. Because me, I don't have an issue staying up till 4 a.m. working on my business because I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. It's interesting for me. If it's a field that you are not interested in, trust me, you won't carry on for too long. It will look like a burden when you are doing those things, when you are working late nights or working late hours. It's going to be like a burden for you. So ensure if you're going into it, go into something you're passionate about. And I think something that can help is think first about yourself. What's the problem that I am facing as a person? What's the problem that people in my community are facing? If your solution is solving a problem, you will definitely not beg clients to pay for it. Clients will definitely pay for it. So it means that money will come in. And definitely, if it's a problem you are facing as a person, it's exciting when you see that users are using it and your solution is solving a problem. So be it a tech solution, be it as little as going into sales of clothes and things like that. Are you someone that is passionate, that loves seeing beautiful clothes on people? You know, things like that. Think about something. They should think about things that they are really passionate about. It helps to start your business in that area so you don't get bored at a certain time, right? And these are little things that keep you going even when things are not working. And like, okay, why did I start this business? Always ask yourself why. I started because I wanted to, in my own case, I think part of the things that moved me to start CodeLn was because I was part of a training session. So I was working as a facilitator, a tech trainer. I was teaching people how to code. It was a 3-month program that was organized by some big companies here in Nigeria. And the promise was that at the end of the 3-month program, each of them were going to get a job, right? So I went there, I was teaching them, I saw people grow from, I would say, beginner level, taught them basic HTML, CSS to the point where they were learning core JavaScript. And I saw the diligence in them, I saw the seriousness in them. Like, there are times when we go to the center and we see that the students came before us, and these are undergraduates. I'm like, wow. So I saw the zeal in them to learn. There are times when we won't beg them, please go home, it's 5 p.m. It's Lagos, there's traffic, you guys should go home. So I saw the zeal and the diligence in them. I saw times when they successfully fixed a bug and they were super excited. I saw them dejected when they couldn't maybe solve a problem or fix a bug. So I saw all of this for 3 months, and for them the reward was that, okay, at the end of these 3 months, I'm going to get a job. So at the end of the 3 months, to cut the long story short, only about 5% of them were placed on jobs. So a couple of them came back to me and like, after all my struggles, and some of them were new to coding, after all of my struggles and I learned this thing, I really wanted a career here, but I think I'm going to give up. It's not fair. Of course, it was a program organized by the government, so they were blaming the government. The government did not give me a job and things like that. So at that point, I could feel their pain. I could empathize with them. And still, I felt bad because I couldn't help them because I had seen so much their effort they had put into it, right? So for me, that was part of the things that pushed me to start coding. I'm like, okay, I know how to code, and it wasn't easy for me when I started learning. So learning to code is quite a process, right? It's a journey and it can be hard. So someone that has struggled to learn how to code to that point should not suffer to get a job. So for me, it's like, okay, you guys go and learn how to code, know your stuff. Once you've known your stuff, just come to us, we'll find you a job, right? It can be that easy. So it was still around that. So that was part of the things that motivated me to start this company. I really, really felt bad that I couldn't help those people. So I'm like, okay, fine. So at this point now, we are helping African software engineers get jobs. So we are reducing the rate of unemployment of African software engineers. So for me, it's rewarding. Like, I feel like I'm beginning to, I'm feeling a bit relieved that at that point I couldn't help, but right now I can help certain people, right? So for me, that's the passion that drove me to start this company. So if you have something like that, if you have a story behind, right, that moved you to start a business, so at the point where you're thinking of giving up, you're like, okay, what about this particular person that spoke? So in my own case, this person that spoke to me and came to me and said he was giving up on this career because he couldn't get a job, right? So I think about those people, I'm like, no, I really have to do this. So it's like that's part of the things that keep pushing me and motivating me to go. So I think in summary, find that one thing you're going to do that you're passionate about, then push it. If you want to go into entrepreneurship, that's the one thing that should keep you going and should get you going. And yeah, I think that's it for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.